Hi, welcome to Local Matters. Today we begin with Dan Strollo, Executive Director of In Control Family Foundation, a nonprofit that offers safe driving courses to people of all ages. Julie Thompson invited Dan via Zoom to talk about the organization and how we can all learn to be safe behind the wheel.
So Dan Strollo, you are the Executive Director of In Control Family Foundation. Can you talk just a little bit about what that is and your mission?
Sure, and thank you very much for having me. So our mission is to reduce crashes and save lives on our roads through hands-on closed course training, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit, and it sounds like you have some personal experience with, and then also through community engagement, whether it's coming out or maybe a little less of that, visiting people, but doing these Zoom calls with PTOs, with communities, talking in Beacon Hill for seatbelt awareness, just different things like that. Anything that we can do to bring attention to how dangerous our roads are.
Okay. And when you said I had experience, my kids years ago went through the In Control Crash Prevention, I think it was called at the time, advanced driver training, when they first got their licenses, to kind of give them a hands-on experience of all different road conditions and different hazards that they might run into, which was invaluable because clearly you can't do that in a parking lot, or you can't do that when you're actually driving with your kids on the roads. So how is it morphed from that? What else have you added to it?
Yeah, and so what I will say is we want to see new drivers participate in some sort of driver's education, and learn the basic operation, how to travel on our roads safely, and they certainly get into some of the safety aspects. But as we were talking about earlier, if you go for your license test here in Massachusetts, it's no more than 5 minutes of driving. So that traditional driver's ed experience is around trying to make sure somebody gets their driver's license. Not to take anything away from what they're accomplishing, but that's their goal. Our goal is to avoid crashes. So we put people in emergency situations, teach them how to stay in control of the vehicle, teach them how not to get in that situation in the first place, and frankly, try to chisel away at some of that invincibility that comes with either being a new driver or an experienced driver who thinks they know more than everybody else. And trust me, I drive on the same roads with the rest of you people. You're all terrible drivers. You just don't realize it.
Right. So what are the types of, give me a couple different scenarios that you put somebody through in this course.
So the first thing you're going to do with this, and this is whether you're a 15-year-old young driver out of New Hampshire, we've had a 94-year-old students go through the program. We've had a lot of police officers locally down your way and all over the state. Everybody has to do a highway speed panic stop. They have to get up to about 50 to 60 miles an hour and aggressively stop the car. And we give them a set space to do that in, and we build them up to it. We demonstrate it for them. We show them how it can be done. But when push comes to shove and they actually have to do it on their own, a lot of times they freak out. When you slam on those brakes at 60 miles an hour, the seatbelt locks up, the wheel vibrates, the pedal pulsates. There's noises you've never heard before coming out of the vehicle, and you freak out. And when you do, you tend to take your foot off the brake. And in that situation, you will run into the wall of cones we set up in front of you. The good news is the cones are pretty cheap. We don't charge you a fortune to replace them.
Right.
We set them back up. And what's really interesting, and this is kind of indicative of everything we're going to do with our students, once we have them repeat the drill, 100% of the time, everybody gets through and stops without hitting that wall of cones.
Right.
And that's it. There's a series of different things we're going to put drivers through. Drills around distracted driving, drills around how to properly control the vehicle from a steering perspective, and what to do in an emergency. And all those drills, if you do them wrong, you're at a big open space. We're training the old South Weymouth Naval Air Station. There is nothing you can run into nowadays. Right. But we want you to fail. We want you to experience what it's like if you did fail and crash, just without the ramifications of injury or damage to the vehicle.
Right. Now I know that a lot of crashes are weather related. So how do you teach people what to do on the ice, or if it's slippery, or if it's foggy or raining really hard?
So we do offer a winter program, but the stars have to align and the weather has to come in the right timing and that sort of thing. But what I will say to people is the car behaves the same way, whether you're on ice or dry pavement or wet pavement. It's a matter of speed. Okay. So if I take an off-ramp that's covered in ice at 40 miles an hour, I'm going to slide. If I take that same off-ramp and dry pavement, but I'm doing 80, I'm going to slide. So we just tend to go faster in our vehicles when we're doing certain drills so that you can experience what it's like. And I think it's better to learn in that environment, whether it's wet or dry. I'd rather have people learn in that environment if we can, as opposed to ice or something really slick, because then they have to fight the G-forces. And we want them to feel what it's like to have to wrestle the car and stay in control. It's also probably a good time for me to mention, we use our cars, not your own vehicle for this. We go through tires about every 7 days. So we really don't want you to have to do this to your car unless it's an emergency.
Yep. Sounds good. Now, there seems to be an uptick of accidents lately. What do you attribute that to?
So first things first, I'm just going to not necessarily correct you, but try to get the concept out there that we really try to use the term crash versus accident.
Okay.
The reason we say that is accidents give you this impression there was nothing we could do. But over 90% of crashes are completely avoidable.
Okay.
And so the uptick that we've been seeing during the pandemic, back in April, we had 50% of the traffic and twice as many deaths on our roads, not just nationally, but here in Massachusetts. Part of it was people were driving recklessly. There were fewer cars on the road. They picked their speeds up. But there's also a lot of anxiety that's been going on. People might not be getting the sleep they needed. They might have actually been using drugs or alcohol to kind of cope with what was going on. All those factors played into it. But unfortunately, our crash rate and the death rates on our roads has just gotten worse over the last few years. Back in 2008, when the cost of fuel went through the roof, we saw a dip. And since then, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse every year.
Now, smart cars, I know my car now, if I go too close to the lines on the road on either side, it'll beep, 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 beep. If I get too close to someone who's in front of me, it'll literally scream at me. How does that affect training people to actually use your own instincts and not relying on the smart features of an automobile?
So I will profess to you and your audience that I'm a geek. I love technology as much as the next person. In fact, I cannot wait for the Google car to come. They used to have one down at the Air Base back, 10 years ago when they were first trying to figure them out. I remember the MIT kids, I had to keep knocking on the door and get them to stop playing video games because their car would drive off into the woods by itself. Right. But here's the problem. Technology kind of creates this, I'm safe, I can rely on this stuff. It's not ready for prime time. Though we do see people get into crashes because they thought their car was going to do something that it wasn't capable of doing. It also can numb your response to things. There's cars you can get with, the mirrors can be set up in such a way that you'll see a light blinking if there's a car in your blind spot. Well, if you just set your mirrors properly in the first place, you won't have a blind spot. And I can promise you, you're far less likely to merge into a lane where you see a car than if you have seen a light blinking constantly the whole time you've been driving your car. So there's a lot of technology out there that it really makes sense on paper. And frankly, if we taught people how to use it and they appreciated its limitations, it might be safer for everybody. But it really isn't something I want drivers to rely on. And in a perfect world, you would just be a more educated, better driver, and then these would be extras that cover in case of a bad day on your part.
Right.
You just shouldn't be relying on them all the time.
Right. You need to just pay attention more. I mean, I remember when I went through driver ed 1,000 years ago, the two things that I remember most about what I learned is that you constantly shift your eyes from left to right because you never know what's going to come in front of you, and you always leave yourself an out so that you can get around something or you have enough space between you and the car in front of you. I never forgot it. Ever, all these years. And like, to your point, it's paying attention to driving, paying attention to avoiding crashes is really what you're trying to instill in young drivers and old drivers alike.
And we hear a lot of talk about don't drive distracted.
Yeah.
I kind of flip it and say, please drive engaged.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily realize, I got my license similarly 1,000 years ago. The vehicle I first drove, if I was doing, 55 miles an hour, it felt like I was doing 155 miles an hour. I don't think it could have gotten up to 80 if the wind was blowing in the right direction.
Right.
Today, if you're doing 80, it feels like you're barely moving. And so drivers are almost motivated. Let's play with the radio. There's cars you can update your Facebook status from the dashboard. That's not smart. Right. And so if we can stay more engaged, concentrate on driving, get there safer, it's better for everybody. And the roads have only gotten more dangerous. This is whether it's your young driver, your family, your employees, everybody out on the roads are crashing at a higher rate than they did just 10 years ago.
Right. And they're not paying attention. I mean, I think
that's a big piece.
That's pretty clear. So how do parents encourage their children to become safer drivers?
So what I would say to parents is a few important concepts. First, think about this thing earlier than you do today. Right now, a 16-year-old driver has the opportunity to get their permit, and then 6 months later, they can be on the roads driving with us. I've got 4 kids. One of them has their license, one has their permit, and a few more are coming. All of them have some sport or, personal thing that they like to do and have been practicing, that sport for 6, 7 years, to the point where my son's been playing basketball, made the varsity team his sophomore year because he practiced so much.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? 6 months of practice, 40 hours with your parents, and you're on the varsity roads. No wonder more than 50% of these kids crash in the first 2 years.
Right.
You've got to start early. So when you get them in that front seat, they turn 13, they're out looking at the front window with you, get those phones put away. Both of you, not just you, but you have your teen, or you put that phone away. And start talking about driving, having them learn what's going on. Hey, did you see that person step into the pedestrian walkway? Did you see that car start to pull out? Start focusing on this and teach them how to get places. Kids have had their face down in some app for the last couple of years. They don't know how to get to school from their house, let alone anywhere else. So start teaching that stuff early. And then when you get to the time with the permit, put in more than 40 hours. I put in 100 hours with my daughter. I'm working on getting to 100 with my son. It's fun. I mean, for some families, it can be a little bit more stressful, so I appreciate that. But we're talking, we're having a good time, but we really need to do that driving because that experience is a big piece of it. We love to train those new drivers. I would encourage some of your listeners, if they've got, a 15-year-old in the household, we have a podcast on our website that can help you work with the new driver. But it's really about experience. It's about having them get those skills. And then once they get their license, don't assume that they're an expert driver.
Right.
It takes 1,000 hours before you're considered experienced.
Right.
And there's a lot of things you can forget in the meantime. Sit in the passenger seat with them.
Right.
Help them out, even once they've been driving for years.
Yep, absolutely. Really good advice. So you have a location in Weymouth, and how do people find out more information about the programs that you offer?
So driveincontrol.org is our website, and I assume you guys will pop that up on the screen.
Yep.
That's the best place to go. All the contact us through there goes to me, so I'm more than happy to respond to you. My name's Dan. We'd love to see your folks train there, whether it's new drivers, adults who are a little concerned about their driving or concerned about their future drivers, experience and want to model the right behavior. People who have employees, there's grants. For those of you looking, money's an issue. We've got financial aid to help you. We're a 501c3, so if there's some of your audience out there that would love to support us, we could certainly use your help. We've never been more financially stable going into this pandemic, but nobody knows what the world's going to be like in the next couple of months. So we want to be here and keep everybody safe. That Google car is a couple of decades away.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm excited about it, but in the meantime, we got to drive ourselves as safely as we possibly can.
And clearly you're referring to the self-driving car when you said the Google car. Yes,
I
right.
am. The autonomous vehicles.
Yes.
Google's going to own it all. We know how this stuff works.
Okay, well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Dan. Like I said, my kids went through this, and I'm so glad that they did all those years ago because it definitely served them well. So thank you, and we'll hope to talk to you again.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Back to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Julie and Dan. Learn more about In Control by visiting driveincontrol.org. Understanding our connection to the natural world, the land we inhabit, the water that sustains us, and the wildlife we coexist with has been a central concern for Indigenous peoples in North America. Their knowledge and leadership has put them at the forefront of efforts to protect land and water and to end exploitation of our environment. On September 3rd, from 7 to 8 p.m., you're invited to attend Pond Wampanoag Culture, History, and Place-Based Knowledge, a virtual event via Zoom. Cultural anthropologist Dr. Amy E. Den Ouden and Pond Wampanoag Tribe President Melissa Ferretti will discuss Pond Wampanoag tribal history and current tribal initiatives. The presentation will offer teachings of the elders and other community members, reflecting the spirit and knowledge of Indigenous peoples rooted in an enduring connection to land, water, and wildlife. Brought to you by Wildlands Trust and the Herring Ponds Watershed Association, you can register for this powerful lecture by visiting either Facebook page. After a long day of homeschooling, you've managed to make dinner, throw in a load of laundry, and walk the dog. But did you get to brush your own hair today? Parenting is hard, Add in a global pandemic, and it's really easy to feel inadequate. But you are not alone. Parents Helping Parents of Massachusetts has virtual online support groups of real parents with real compassion, forming real connections. Upcoming virtual meetups will take place August 31st, September 7th, and September 14th from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. Grab yourself a cup of tea or something stronger and chat with other parents to get the support that you need. Sign up via their website at parentshelpingparents.org. Nelson Mandela said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." So, with COVID-19 changing what learning looks like, how do we deliver the quality education that our kids deserve? On September 2nd, the United Nations Association of Greater Boston and Impact Hub Boston will explore the future of schooling and how it will change through a distinguished panel of global and local speakers. This free virtual event will run from 5 to 6 p.m. and is part of the UN Perspective series designed to open dialogue between global experts, local leaders, and the greater Boston community. To register and learn more about the event, visit the Facebook page of the United Nations Association of Greater Boston. Jen Matney is back to keep us on the healthy path with Food Positive.
Hi, welcome back to Food Positive, where we explore all different kinds of nutrition topics so we can take a preventative look at our health and use food as medicine. I'm Jen Matney. I'm a holistic nutritionist right here on the South Shore, and today we're going to be tackling what you need to know about nutrition labels. While we're not going to get into every little nitty-gritty detail or everything you could possibly know about nutrition labels, we are going to be focusing on 3 specific areas to keep in mind when shopping for processed food. The very first question I ask myself when I'm looking at a new food item is, what's your serving size? Now, the reason why that's important is because you might think to yourself, rationally, the whole item is a serving size, the whole box or can or bottle, and you might be surprised to find out that is often not true. So when you're looking at the amount you actually consume, that might be 2 or 3 or more servings. And in that case, the daily values, the calories, the added sodium, the added sugar, all of those items will need to be doubled or tripled in order to give an accurate picture of what you're actually consuming. For example, I have here a lemonade iced tea, which during the summer, you might think to yourself, if it's hot out and I'm thirsty, I'm gonna drink the whole bottle, right? And so I was fascinated to find out that there are 2 serving sizes in a bottle this size. And so when we look at that, we want to make sure we're looking at calories are doubled or the added sugar is doubled. So for the entire bottle, it's actually 41 grams of sugar, and we just need to keep that in mind when we're looking at the food and beverages that we're putting into our bodies. So the first thing to remember is, what's your serving size? The second area to focus on is check your levels. So everyone has their different daily value levels they hone in on when they look at a nutrition label for different reasons. For example, if someone's looking to build some muscle, they might be focused at grams of protein in a certain snack food. If you are an individual who has more blood sugar concerns, you might be focused on the amount of carbohydrates in any food item. Whatever your main focus, make sure you take a long, hard look at the processed sugar and processed salt values. For example, I have a food item here, and this is a carton of soup. It's interesting to note that there's 1 serving in this whole container, and it's just like a Southwest, like a black bean soup kind of vibe. It actually is organic. So often people think that that is quite a healthy option, but it's important to note that there's 1450 milligrams, 1,450 milligrams of sodium in here, which is 63% of your daily value of sodium. So processed salt, processed sugar are added to food items to make them incredibly tasty, but those ingredients actually create inflammation and imbalance in the body. So you want to keep an eye on those values specifically, because this is a lot of sodium to eat in one go, and you want to make sure you keep that in mind when you're looking at the full picture of your day. Is this going to put you over your sodium, your daily sodium levels? The last section that I like to look at on a nutrition label is ingredients, ingredients, ingredients. So while I've checked my serving size, what's my serving size? I've checked my levels, I feel comfortable with those to check, we're good to go. However, my desire to eat a processed food item might come crashing down when I look at the ingredients, depending on what's there. For example, whole foods build health because they have whole vitamins, whole minerals, whole phytonutrients, and those items actually bring, they help our bodies process foods, they help our bodies go through all of the metabolic processes that we need to do in everyday life. So whole foods are key, which is why when I look at the nutrition section, the ingredients section, I look for 5 ingredients or fewer. And I'm always wary of food ingredients that I have never heard of or cannot pronounce. So I have another food item here. This is actually like a microwavable snack. And there's ingredients in here like thiamine mononitrate, methylcellulose, maltodextrin, that one I actually do know, L-cysteine hydrochloride. I'm not sure what any of those items are without doing a little bit of research. It doesn't say apples or nuts or any type of meat or any food item ingredient that I might use in my kitchen readily. So that's what I look for in the ingredient section. I also look for any food allergens. So for those of you who have food allergies or sensitivities, all of those food allergens, those main top 8 ones, are actually going to be listed in bold in the ingredient section or just right after the ingredient section. And removing those allergenic foods from our diet will actually help reduce inflammation and support the immune system function if you have an allergy or sensitivity to that food item. So that's the last section. I like to check ingredients, 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 because I like to know what's going in my body. I like to be able to say it out loud and know what I'm talking about and make sure it's not on my list of food allergies. Now you too are a nutrition label expert. Yay! When you head to the grocery store, just keep these 3 sections in mind. What's your serving size? Check your values, and ingredients, ingredients, ingredients. Assessing each of these sections on any nutrition label of a food item you want to purchase will help you make positive choices for your health. If you have any health questions or nutrition questions, please send them on along to the local scene at PAC TV. We would really love to tackle those topics that mean the most to you. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time on our next segment of Food Positive.
Thanks, Jen. For more helpful insight and advice, visit Jen's website at eatpositivebpositive.com. Librarian Miss Melissa of the Pembroke Public Library invites you and your toddler to online interactive story time every Tuesday from 10:30 to 11 a.m. Together, you'll sing some songs, read a picture book, and get some early literacy tips to inspire your little one's love for reading. This program is recommended for ages 2 to 5. The next story time is on September 1st. To register, visit the library's website. Tiff and Erica are back with an all-new installment of Apps Untapped.
Hi there, Tiff here again to bring you another episode of Apps Untapped. Now, lately I've realized my spending habits have gotten a little bit out of control. I really thought that I was going to save money during the pandemic, not going out, no going to eat, no getting my nails done, but me, being me, has found other ways to deplete my bank account.
We should order pizza.
I got this.
And that's what happened.
Gosh, Mark, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Here, have some money. Hey, who ordered all these shoes? They're mine! So today we're going to talk about budgeting apps, specifically a little app called Pocket Guard. All right, disclaimer time. I'm clearly not a financial advisor. I'm just a girl standing in front of her bank account asking herself why she spent so much on Amazon last month. You may have never heard of it, but Pocket Guard is an app that syncs with your bank account and categorizes your transactions based on the merchants you purchase goods from, or the institutions that you're paying bills to. I looked at a lot of finance apps, and many cost money, and since we like free around these parts, I chose this app because you can get the most features without having to switch to an upgraded account. When you first set up the app, you will connect it to your various financial accounts, checkings, savings, credit cards, etc. That gives the app a sense of what you're worth financially because you know what you're worth. Specifically, it determines how much debt you have and your spending habits. To set up, you'll put in your email address, pick a password, and choose a 4-digit passcode. Just FYI, the app will prompt you to put in your code every time you leave the app, even just to send a quick text. After you're in, you'll need to connect to your bank account. But by the way, it takes a little bit of time. Oh, it's done. At this point, you can go through your account and mark which transactions are bills, so you can keep track of what's coming up for the month. You can choose the frequency at which these bills are taken out, and you can also add how often your paychecks are deposited into your account. Pocket Guard has a bunch of really helpful functions, so I'm going to take some time to throw a few at you. On the main screen, also known as Overview, you will see the In My Pocket function. This is basically the heart of Pocket Guard. It will calculate how much money you have after savings, bills, putting money away, etc. In other words, it tells you how much money you have to play with for non-essentials. It will also tell you how much money you have per day for the rest of the month. As I said before, you can mark which of your transactions are bills, but wait, there's more. You can also categorize other transactions, so you can keep track of what your money is going to every month. As the month progresses, all of these categories are filtered into this super nifty pie chart, which is located under Insights. Do you feel like you're paying too much on your bills? Because you probably are. Pocket Guard actually has a section where they'll help you lower your bills. What kind of bills, you ask? Mostly things like phone or other utilities. Just a heads up, it usually does take a few days. Let me set the scene for you. It's the week in between paychecks. You have a quarter of a tank of gas. You're running low on tasty options in your refrigerator. You are basically broke. No judgment, we've all been there. But that's not a situation you have to be in if you budget your money wisely. This app can help you with that. It will break down what's coming in and what's going out, but there are a few other budgeting options, such as tracking your income and setting a savings goal. Now that you have some handy functions under your belt, I'm going to provide you with a few tips and tricks I found out while researching the app. If you're a fan of the hashtag and want a more specific way to categorize what's coming out of your bank account, you can actually hashtag a group of transactions. So say I want to know how much I spend on streaming services. I could connect my Netflix, Hulu, and Prime transactions to a hashtag to lump them all together. All you have to do is go to Transactions, tap on the transaction you want to use, tap Note, add your hashtag, and hit Save. It's hashtag pretty cool. Right now, it's obvious that budgets are tight for everyone, and saving a few dollars a month here or there seems like a drop in the bucket. But just remember, if I can save money little by little, it adds up at the end of the year. For example, I managed to get a $9 a month decrease on my phone bill. What I did was take that $9 that I would have spent on my phone and put it in my savings account. At the end of the year, that adds up to $108. That's like 3.5 tanks of gas or like 100 chicken nuggets. It's a lot of nuggets. And lastly, if you need a little bit more help and you didn't see it on this incredibly helpful video, there is a great fact section that can help you out, including a newbie's guide that's pretty awesome. I will try not to be insulted that you went to someone else for help. So there you have it. You learned some things. Way to go, friend. Listen, finances are hard, new habits are hard, and pandemics, well, they're even harder. We're all doing the best we can, so don't kick yourself too much if you make some mistakes along the way. Just hop back on and keep going, because saving money makes sense. That was a money pun. Get it? No? Okay, I'm just gonna go. This has been Apps Untapped. It's been great chatting with you. Until next time, be well.
I feel you, Tiff. It's not always how much you earn, but how much you spend, right? Tanya Fleming is a professional cat sitter and speaker on cat care and the feline lifestyle, and is also used to taking extra health precautions because of an autoimmune disorder pre-existing the coronavirus. She gave us her take on how she's coping and adapting.
Coronavirus has definitely affected my social life. I have an autoimmune illness and asthma issues, so I have already sort of been doing some of the social distancing. I guess I didn't know the term for social distancing. It's just in your mind when you have an illness that gets triggered really easily. I've had to make choices personally over the past couple of years, making decisions on if I want to volunteer somewhere, would I be able to be around that many people? Would I be able to be around those chemicals that are in that space? You know, different things. It could be just a number of different things that I've had to think about. If someone's sick, or someone's kid has a cold, or someone is not feeling good and have a little fever, but we'll still have, no, I can't go, I'm sorry. Those things that don't really seem to affect other people too much definitely affect me. And if I get a little cold, on top of my already overactive immune system, it will just cause me to be sick for 3 or 4 or almost a week, so it puts me out of commission. Sometimes, if I'm feeling really good and the risk is low, I'll go visit some friends if they're feeling good. We can go to have a bite to eat, that kind of thing. But every single time I make a decision, this is even pre-COVID, I have to think about it. This is something that people, when they had to do social distancing and be in quarantine, has really affected them. And I can understand that it can affect, it can affect you, and it's not fun. And I'll say that even when I had to start kind of doing this a couple years ago, it isn't fun. I have to join people in acknowledging that actually this is not fun, having to not be able to go do things. And I do feel for people, because if you're basically well enough, you don't ever have this problem with having to change your life because your immune system or whatever, it does stink to be told that you can't do things. But I feel that wearing a mask can help you. Maybe it's not gonna completely solve 100%, guarantee you that you're never gonna get this virus. But I have personally seen that by wearing a mask on my face, washing my hands, or coming home and taking a shower, it really helps limit all of the things that can trigger your immune system. And I've personally firsthand seen that works. And that's helped me over the last 5 years not get as triggered, not get as sick. Before we got the actual information that we had to do a quarantine, because I'm very intuitive, you kind of listening and putting things together, I really felt like a panic attack came on me. I felt very, very nervous, and had a full-blown sort of inner panic attack in my body. Once I got that under control and sort of refocused my faith in God, and I started reading the Bible and just getting myself centered, And then I really dived in to learn about whatever I could about this virus and how it specifically could affect me with my autoimmune and asthma issues. Once I laid that all out on the table, I understood how to protect myself. If I lived alone and was still single, I think I would really start to lose my mind. I really do. I really worry for people right now that are single and they don't have any pets. I think that is a terrible combination, to be in quarantine by yourself with no pets. I don't recommend that. I recommend adopting an animal, because if you're sitting around by yourself going through this and you have a house or an apartment, you should be adopting an animal. You shouldn't be alone. That's just my pet adoption spot, okay? You know, the people that have some family at home, I think, you know, you're really blessed if you have people at home to be with, to go through this, definitely. When anything like this happens, if you're a normal person, you take stock in the people that you love and things that matter the most. And you put those things into perspective. That's what you do if you're a normal person. If you have not taken stock in those that you love, you need to do that. Because it can be gone.
Thank you, Tanya, for sharing your story. And what about you? If you would like to share how you're coping and adapting, email us at thelocalscene@pactv.org. From now until November 1st, the Franklin Park Zoo's 72-acre property is lighting up the night sky with Boston Lights, a lantern experience. Hundreds of beautifully crafted lanterns comprise over 50 displays. Walk through a 66-foot-long shark tunnel, radiant flower gardens, glimmering butterflies, and ocean panoramas. There will be traditional Asian lantern scenes, including a 197-foot dragon and a giant step-and-play piano for your little ones to make their own music. This magical experience is also educational. Boston Lights is intended to shine a light on the importance of conserving the incredible biodiversity on our planet. Social distancing is, of course, required, but it will be worth it. Your family will be talking about this for a long time. For more information, visit the Franklin Park Zoo website. Legendary musician John Prine passed over in April of this year, and the Lindsays honor him and gift us with a cover of his song, Speed of the Sound of Loneliness. Enjoy.
Hi. Hi, we're the Lindsays, and we're going to play a John Prine song. John Prine passed away on April 9th. He was one of the world's greatest songwriters, really, and we do a lot of his songs, and this is one of them.
Come on late and you come home early. Come on big when you're feeling small. You come on straight and you come on curly. Sometimes you don't come home at all. What in the world has come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken the speed and the sound of loneliness. Out there running just to be on the run. I got a heart that burns with a fever. I got a worried and a jealous man. How can the love that lasts forever get so far left behind? What in the world has come over you? dreadful sorrow. Across this troubled land today. How can you ask about tomorrow? We ain't got one word to say. What in the world has come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken the speed and the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. What in the world has come over you? What in heaven's name have you done? Broken the speed and the sound of loneliness. You're out there running just to be on the run. You're out there running just to be on the run.
Thank you, Lindsays. That was awesome. And thank you for watching this episode of Local Matters, which is a production of the local scene of PAC TV. Visit our website at pactv.org/local scene for a complete list of resources mentioned in this show. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook to keep updated on the ways that we shine a light on you. From all of us at PAC TV, have a happy and safe week. We'll see you next time.